What if the most important question about your potential had nothing to do with where you came from, but everything to do with what you can prove you've done? To see what that looks like, we're going to take a trip to Louisville, Kentucky, to see how one city is already living in that future, a future where your skills, not your school, define your worth.
So, picture this. For more than 100 years in Louisville, Kentucky, there was this one simple question. And this question, it was everything. It was like a secret password that could either open doors for you or slam them shut right in your face.
And that question was, where did you go to high school? Now I know, it sounds like harmless small talk, right? But in Louisville, this was a super sophisticated code. It told people everything they thought they needed to know about you, your neighborhood, your religion, your family's income, even how smart they thought you were. It was basically a proxy for your entire social standing.
All right, let's really dig into this. This question wasn't just about making conversation. It was a social tool that created this really cliquey culture, And it ended up being a massive wall for so many skilled, talented people who just didn't have the right answer.
And this system, it built something that economists now call the paper ceiling. Think of it like an invisible barrier, right? It just locks out incredibly talented and skilled people just because they're missing a specific piece of paper, whether that's a 4-year degree or, in this case, a diploma from the right high school. It's a system that puts credentials way ahead of actual real-world ability.
And this wasn't just some abstract economic problem. It caused real social damage. It created what's known as a crab bucket mentality. You know the idea. If you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket and one tries to climb out, the others will literally pull it back down. It fostered these really insular groups that were suspicious of outsiders and new ideas, holding everyone and the whole city back.
But here's the thing. That whole old world, it's collapsing. The very foundations that held up this whole system of social pedigree are cracking. We're talking about a crisis on every single front: money, buildings, and people.
Okay, let's start with a number. A big one. $142 million. That is the massive, staggering budget shortfall that the public school system there is facing. And look, a gap that big isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's an earthquake, shaking the very foundations of the city's education system. And that earthquake has very real aftershocks. We're talking about schools, places that are the heart of a community being put on the chopping block. They're being proposed for closure or for sale because there aren't enough students and the costs are just out of control. When this happens, the value of the credential they offer, well, it starts to crumble too.
So you've got the financial crisis, the building crisis, and on top of all that, there's a human one. Get this, by the end of 2025, the state of Kentucky had more than 2,400 teacher vacancies. That is a huge number. The very people we rely on to teach the next generation are leaving the profession in droves. And that shortage, it creates this massive domino effect. You see, 1 in 10 teachers didn't come back in 2023. So what happens? Districts have to rely on emergency certifications, which have doubled. And get this, a shocking 70% of superintendents admit they're keeping staff that they probably should have let go, just because there's nobody else to hire. The very meaning of a high school education is becoming, well, a lot less reliable.
So, okay, the old system is failing. But into this void, this vacuum, a powerful new force is stepping up, and that force is artificial intelligence. AI is a total game changer here. You see, AI is really good at the boring stuff, the lower order thinking, like just recalling facts or summarizing a chapter. And because it can do that, it's forcing teachers to completely rethink their assignments. They have to focus on what we humans do best: thinking critically, connecting ideas, and coming up with creative solutions. And it's not just for students, not by a long shot. Teachers are using AI to help plan their lessons. Administrators are using it to draft policies and crunch data. Even the IT departments are using it for scripting. With all the staff shortages, AI is becoming an absolutely essential tool just to keep the whole system running.
And you know what? This whole shift isn't just top-down. It's bubbling up from the students themselves. Gen Z, these are kids who grew up with the internet. They'd much rather learn from YouTube. 59% of them prefer it. And when they get stuck on something, guess where they go first? Not a friend, not a textbook. Almost a third of them are turning to AI tools right away. The game has totally changed.
So let's connect the dots here. If those old signals of potential, like that high school question, are becoming obsolete, what's replacing them? The answer is a whole new way of thinking, a paradigm based not on your ancestry, but on what you can actually, provably do.
And at the heart of this new world is a concept called digital proof of work. It's a pretty simple but powerful idea. Your value, your worth, is demonstrated through real, tangible things you've created and skills you've mastered, all verified digitally. It's not about the time you spent in a classroom or the logo on your diploma.
And if you want a perfect example of this in the real world, check out the Louisville Beauty Academy. They've completely flipped the traditional learn-then-test model. Students there, they take the test first. And failing isn't a bad thing. No, it's just data. It tells them exactly what they don't know so they can focus their learning only on those specific gaps. It's all about action first, not just sitting in a chair for hours.
This right here, this comparison, really nails the difference. Look, we're moving away from a system based on time in seat to one based on verified output. The evidence isn't a static piece of paper like a transcript, it's a dynamic, living portfolio. The old way was all about social gatekeeping. The new way? It's about skill verification. And it's instantly portable, not locked away in some school's filing cabinet.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Because what's happening in Louisville? This isn't just some quirky local story. It is a preview of a massive, nationwide revolution, a total rethinking of how we hire, and really how we define human potential itself.
That paper ceiling we talked about? It's being torn down piece by piece all across the country. You've got 25 states, including Kentucky, that have already removed degree requirements for state jobs. A whopping 81% of global employers are now using skills-based hiring, and 77% of business leaders say it loud and clear. They prioritize experience over a formal education.
And the tech that's making all this possible is something called a Learning and Employment Record, or LER for short. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital wallet or a portfolio, but for your skills and accomplishments. It's a verified, lifelong record of everything you can do, and the best part is you control it. It empowers you to tell your own career story.
So what does it mean to have potential in this new world? Well, it's really redefined by three key things. First, it's about iterative persistence, that ability to fail, learn from it fast, and keep going. Second, it's about digital transparency, having that undeniable, unforgeable record of your skills in an LER. And third, it's about human-AI synthesis, learning to work with AI to handle the grunt work, which frees you up to focus on creativity and human connection.
And that leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. Is your potential defined by where you've been, or what you can prove you've done? As all those old signals fade away, every single one of us has a chance to answer that question for ourselves, to build our future on the undeniable proof of our actions, not our origins.